Hello, I'm Richard Jones. I was very lucky to be in a Christchurch Boys High first cricket 11 with Sir Richard Hadley, and I got to face paddles 5 nights a week. Then I retired. We didn't have one-day cricket in those days. I would have loved that. But I do have a Bachelor of Science degree. That probably is what makes me different from any other batting coaches around the world. I talk in terms of loci, planes, centre of gravity, Newton's laws of motion. So that's probably what makes me a bit different. In the last 20 years, I've said that there's only one school of thought on batting in the entire cricket world, and it is wrong, scientifically impossible. In a nutshell, they teach hands and head when they should be looking at feet. If your hands and head are in the right place and your feet aren't, you'll fail. If your feet are in the right place, your hands and head will be in the right place anyway. So hands and head are totally irrelevant. Things like soft hand, that just comes naturally. So for 20 years, the cricket world's copied an idea that was wrong. Presently, there isn't one batsman in world cricket today who can get his front foot, this is against the fast bowlers, get his front foot more than 1 metre, half a metre down the track. You should be able to get over 1 metre down the track. And consequently, there's an area of indecision where the batsman has to decide whether to go back or forwards. Well, the ball's just a little bit full of that. I would go forward to every single time. Well, today the batsmen are going back to those balls. And if you go back to those balls, you've got big problems. Just to show how fickle the cricket world is, about 3 years ago, the entire cricket world copied Kohli's stance, the way he has his bat in the air while he waits for the bowler to come in. And you watch the little kids on a Saturday morning, they've copied all the guys and the men and the ladies in the Saturday afternoon. They've all copied it. And if you copy that, then you don't understand the most important shot in batting, and that's the on drive. And it really adversely affects just about every shot you play. So once again, the entire cricket world copied an idea that was wrong. It does make me laugh. Some of these guys around today, they're going to be the greatest batsman of all time, or the greatest Australian batsman of all time. And they've done nothing for the last 2 or 3 years and can't face short pitch balls, mainly because they can't play back foot shots. Today, the guys not only can't play front foot shots, but they can't play back foot shots. They just stand there and don't move at all the time. But so going back to that Kohli stance, Sir Don Bradman, the greatest batsman of all time, he had an average of 99 point something. If he didn't have a tear in his eye in that last innings, he probably averaged over 100. He's twice the batsman of anyone playing today. He actually, how we used to tap our bat on the ground? Well, he put his bat on the ground. He didn't even tap it. And he didn't move his bat until the bowler had released the ball. And it was quite funny, about 10 years ago, an English computer company, they spent millions of dollars trying to simulate the way Sir Donald Bradman bats. And of course they failed. Or I could have told them in 1 hour how he bats and saved them millions of dollars. Okay. Remember when Australia were all out for 60 in England about 2 or 3 years ago? I'll never forget it because I was on the phone to a mate, and Australia lost another 2-5 after about a 15-minute phone call. They were 6 for 36 and then all out for 60. Well, at the time, one of the English commentators, Nasser Hussain, he said that when they were 6 for 36, I found a common thread in 3 of the dismissals, and he starts talking about bat angle. Well, those three guys had all gone out to full pitch balls, and they hadn't moved their front foot at all. And here's Nasser talking about bat angle. You're right. There's been some terrible performances in the last few years. About 3 or 4 years ago in South Africa, Australia were 9 for 19, and never right off the Aussies. The last two guys put on 20 runs. In a test in India, New Zealand were lost 8 for 16 about 3 or 4 years ago. England just a couple of years ago at Eden Park on a track, the boundaries are only about 40, 45 metres, and they were 8 for 18. The Pakistan in the last ODI World Cup, they were looking good until they came up against the West Indies who just bounced them out and they looked terrible. Leaving the ball outside off stump, the way they do it today is so wrong. You see these guys batting for an hour looking really fantastic, and all of a sudden they go out, bat up in the air, bowled or LBW. I tell my boys I coach, if you go out like that, you may as well have stayed in bed that morning. It was interesting. When I say I retired after I left school, I played a lot of social cricket, some fairly good standard, and but quite a while back I had 7 years off, and when I came back, they had changed the rule on LBW. If you got hit on the pad outside the line in the old days, you could still be out LBW, even if you had your bat. They changed it if your bat's near your pad, as though they can read your mind. It's crazy. But you're deemed to have played a shot, and even if it hits outside off stump, you can't be LBW. So once I came back from those 7-year layoff, I may have changed my approach to how I leave the ball outside off stump, but I disagree with what they do today. It's a bit like the hook shot. Steve Waugh, great Australian, he never played the hook shot, and I totally agree with that. Why play a hook shot when a lot of those balls you can just glide down to fine leg, unless it's a really bad ball? So I agree with Steve in that philosophy. And all you bowlers out there, you're probably thinking, oh, I don't have to know this stuff. Hey, if you don't know how to bat, how do you know where to bowl? And I've always said that the way to make a good cricket team is to teach your 9, 10 and 11 how to bat. These guys, professional today, they've got nothing else to do. There's no excuse for your number 10 and 11 not being able to bat today. There was an ex-international, I won't mention his name because he's passed away, but he was a very good batsman. He did a coaching video, and one of the things he said that when you play forward, your head has to be over your feet. Well, that's so wrong. Well, for a start, if someone's bowling 100 miles an hour at you and worrying about whether your head's over your feet, you'll get your head knocked off. But the important thing is your centre of gravity has gone too far forward. To get optimal power, your centre of gravity has to be further back than that. Facing bounces has now become dangerous. Well, there's a proper way to face bounces, but you have to know how to play short pitch back foot shots, which they can't play today. So they not only can't play front foot shots today, they can't play back foot shots. Maybe some of the really good pitches they get away without moving the feet, but hey, you either go forward or you go back. You don't just stand there. Facing spin, I have an approach, mainly because you need some positive thoughts in your head. There are batsmen who like facing fast bowling, but don't like facing spin, and vice versa. So it's really, my method's a bit boring, but it's good and successful, and puts positive thoughts in your mind. So that's important. You're probably wondering who the heck I am. who I've coached. My nephew was a guy, he's about 6'4". He was brilliant. But when he was 18, he fell in love with basketball. That's okay. And here in Christchurch and Canterbury, all the good young guys, first and foremost rugby players. I was probably that myself. I was in a good first cricket 11, but I still wanted to be in that first 15, probably even more. That is how it is here in Christchurch. I've got a couple of good Indian boys coming through, so I've been coaching a few Indian teams of late. So hopefully something to come. I have put in the hard yards. So I've been in 2 clubs in Christchurch for over 20 years, and I asked them both if I could coach a senior men's team. Even though I'd coached senior rugby, they didn't have enough faith in me. It only takes one guy who's jealous of your abilities or doesn't like you to ruin all that. So I have put in the hard yards. So yeah. I just want to talk about some of the players doing pretty well. I was impressed in the Caribbean League with Darren Bravo and Marlon Samuels. Thought played really well. There's David Milan. He's the top-ranked T20 batsman world, and he couldn't get an IPL contract. And when India came here last year, Rahul and Iyer, they both played really well on the one days, and they should have put them straight into the test team because they're on fire. The rest of those Indian top order batsmen looked pretty average, to say the least. I think Shikhar Dhawan might have got injured and had to go home. I see he's just scored back-to-back hundreds in the IPL. So, yes, he's got that confidence that you need. But those Indian top order batsmen, just no foot movement. They look absolutely terrible. I think if the T20 World Cup had been played, I think it's just been postponed till next year. I think the West Indies would have won it again. Those huge guys they've got, like Pollard, Braithwaite, and Dwayne Bravo. Those guys hit it ball a mile, and some of the young stars that are coming out here to New Zealand next month. Oh man, some of those guys can hit a ball. Yeah, they're not so good in the test, but T20 should be great. There's some big guys coming to the forefront, guys like Stokes, Stoinis, just guys like that, who in my opinion are technically just average. I just say as everyone playing today, so. But because the pitches are pretty good, batting tracks, these big guys are really coming into their own. And that innings Stokes played to win the test against Australia was pretty amazing. And it's just like in the T20, these little guys, how can they compete with these huge guys in the T20 cricket? So I still think, a batsman who's technically really good could still go out and play T20 and just hit the ball on the ground. But there isn't one batsman in the world today who's technically any good. So that rules out. I mean, after 2 overs, there's no slips. They've only got to bowl the ball, 5-10 centimetres outside off a leg stump, and there's runs. And the difference between a 4 and a 6 is only 2. But having said that, watching some of those young West Indians, it is pretty exciting. And I want to just go back 30 years ago. Mike Gatting brought an English youth team to New Zealand, and it was a hot day. I was coaching a girls' team in Christchurch at Hagley, and we didn't have a net assigned, and we went over by a trainer practice, and I looked up, and there was Mike watching me from about 50 yards away, and I wished I had waved and just said hi. So I'm saying hi to you now, Mike. And just to finish, I just go back to the start about this one school of thought. Well, I mean, Australia's got about 6 or 8 states and a huge country, and there used to be hundreds of schools of thought. Dougie Walters, he learned to bat on an anthill. There was a great South African opening batsman, I just forget his name. He learned to bat like Don Bradman with just a stick and a golf ball to get his iron. And you know, to have the whole world copy one school of thought, I can understand in this day and age with modern technology being what it is, that's possible. But I can understand them coaching an idea that's right, but the whole world coaching an idea that's wrong is just, Barry Hadley said to me years ago, he said in the old days, we didn't have batting coaches. We just went out with a mate and threw balls to each other and learned how to bat. Yeah, so today um, they've just copied one school of thought, and it's scientifically impossible. The, the guys, these so-called stars who aren't performing, they're basically defying the laws of science. So that's why they're not performing. So I've been saying this for 20 years, and one day someone's going to listen to me. That's all. Thanks. Have a good day, and thanks for listening. Bye.